In the long story of philosophy, some names stand out like bright stars. Aristotle is one of them. He was a student of another great thinker, Plato, but he saw the world in a very different way. While Plato was interested in a world of perfect ideas, a reality beyond what we can see, Aristotle was fascinated by the world right here in front of us. He wanted to understand everything, from the smallest insect to the vast movements of the stars. He was a philosopher, but he was also a biologist, a political scientist, an art critic, and a keen observer of human nature. This made his thinking incredibly practical and grounded. Aristotle believed that to understand something, you had to look at it closely. You had to collect information and see how it worked in the real world. This might sound obvious to us today, but it was a revolutionary idea at the time. Plato thought we could find truth simply by thinking and reasoning, looking inward. Aristotle insisted that we must also look outward. He spent countless hours studying plants and animals, categorizing them based on their features. This methodical, observational approach laid the groundwork for what we now call the scientific method, a process of gathering evidence to form conclusions. This difference between the two great Greek philosophers is central to understanding Aristotle's work. Imagine Plato pointing up to the sky, towards his world of perfect forms, a realm of pure ideas. Now, picture Aristotle gesturing down to the earth, to the tangible things we can touch, see, and study. He believed that the essence of things, their true nature, was not in some other dimension but right here, within the objects themselves. This focus on the material world shaped all of his ideas, especially his thoughts on how we should live our lives, which he explored through his profound system of ethics. His curiosity was truly boundless. He wrote about everything he could think of: how a good play is structured, the best way to govern a city, what makes a persuasive argument, and most famously, what it means to live a good and happy life. For Aristotle, happiness wasn't just a fleeting feeling of pleasure, it was something much deeper, a state of flourishing that he called eudaimonia. This flourishing, he argued, was the ultimate goal of human existence, and it could only be achieved by living a life of virtue, a life guided by reason and balance. His entire philosophy was a roadmap to achieving this state. So, how do we achieve this flourishing life? Aristotle's answer is one of his most famous and practical ideas, the doctrine of the golden mean. He suggested that virtue, or moral excellence, is almost always a middle point between two extremes. One extreme is a deficiency, having too little of a certain quality, while the other is an excess, having too much. The virtuous path is the balanced one, the golden mean that lies somewhere in between. This isn't a mathematical average, but a sensible middle ground that a wise person would choose in any given situation. Let's take the example of courage. Imagine a soldier facing a battle. One extreme is cowardice, which is a deficiency of courage. A coward would run away from any danger, failing in their duty. The other extreme is recklessness, which is an excess of courage. A reckless person might charge into a hopeless fight without any thought for their safety or the plan, which is just as unhelpful as running away. The virtuous person, according to Aristotle, would be brave. They would assess the risk, feel the fear but not be controlled by it, and act appropriately to face the danger. This idea applies to almost every aspect of our character. Consider generosity. A person who gives away nothing is stingy, which is the deficiency. A person who gives away everything they have, leaving their own family with nothing, is wasteful, which is the excess. The virtuous person is generous, giving the right amount to the right people at the right time. The same logic works for confidence. Too little confidence makes you timid and unable to act, while too much makes you arrogant and conceited. The virtuous middle ground is proper self-respect and quiet confidence. Crucially, Aristotle believed that virtue is not something you are born with. It is a habit that you must develop through practice. You become a brave person by doing brave things over and over again. You become a generous person by practicing generosity. Just like learning to play a musical instrument, living virtuously requires constant effort and repetition until it becomes second nature. It is a skill we build over a lifetime. The golden mean provides the target we should aim for as we practice living well and cultivate our character. Aristotle wasn't just interested in how we should behave, he was also deeply concerned with how we should think. He is often called the father of logic because he was the first to systematically study the principles of correct reasoning. He wanted to understand what makes an argument valid or invalid. He identified patterns of reasoning called syllogisms, which are simple arguments with two premises leading to a conclusion. For example, all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. This is a perfect example of a logical deduction. This focus on logic was not just an academic exercise. For Aristotle, clear thinking was the essential tool for all knowledge, especially in science. If you were going to observe the world, as he insisted you must, you needed a reliable way to make sense of your observations. Logic provided the framework to build arguments, test hypotheses, and arrive at sound conclusions. It was the machinery of reason that allowed the human mind to move from specific facts to general principles. This structured way of thinking became the bedrock of Western scientific and philosophical thought for nearly 2,000 years. Just as he believed an individual needed balance and reason to flourish, Aristotle believed a society did too. He extended his practical, observational approach to politics, studying the constitutions of many different Greek city-states. He wasn't searching for a single, perfect form of government that would work everywhere. Instead, he analyzed what worked and what didn't in the real world. He concluded that the goal of a political community, or polis, was to help its citizens live a good life. A good society is one that enables its people to achieve eudaimonia. For this to happen, Aristotle argued for a balanced constitution that avoided extremes. He was wary of both tyranny, which is rule by one, and pure democracy, which he feared could become mob rule. He favored a system with a strong middle class, as he believed they were the most stable element in a state, less likely to be corrupted by greed than the rich or driven by desperation than the poor. A good citizen, in his view, was someone who participated in the civic life of the state, using their reason to help rule and be ruled in turn, always aiming for the common good. Though Aristotle lived nearly 2,400 years ago, his ideas remain surprisingly relevant. We live in a world of extremes, where public discourse is often polarized and people are pushed to take radical positions. The call to find a golden mean is more important than ever. In our own lives, we can apply this idea to find a better work-life balance, to manage our tempers with moderation rather than suppression or rage, and to be generous without being foolish. It's a practical guide to self-improvement that asks us to think about our actions and build better habits, one choice at a time. His emphasis on observation and evidence also resonates deeply in our information-saturated age. Aristotle teaches us to be critical thinkers, to not just accept ideas but to examine the evidence for them. In a world full of misinformation and fake news, his logical method provides a toolkit for separating good arguments from bad ones. It encourages us to be curious, to ask questions, and to ground our beliefs in reality. By following his example, we can become more discerning consumers of information and more reasonable participants in any debate, whether it's about politics, science, or personal choices. Furthermore, his political thought offers a valuable lesson for modern citizenship. Aristotle's idea that a good society should promote the flourishing of its citizens challenges us to think about the purpose of our communities. Are our laws and institutions helping people live better, more virtuous lives? His belief in the importance of civic participation is a powerful reminder that a healthy democracy requires more than just voting. It requires active, engaged citizens who use their reason to contribute to the common good, who are willing to both lead and follow for the benefit of all. In the end, Aristotle matters because he provides a philosophy for living in the real world. He doesn't ask us to retreat into a world of abstract thought or to wait for a perfect society. He gives us practical tools to improve ourselves and our communities right here and now. His wisdom is grounded, accessible, and focused on a goal we can all understand: living a happy, flourishing life. By seeking balance, thinking logically, and engaging with the world around us, we can all walk a little further down the path that Aristotle first mapped out so long ago.